I'm Dave Mercer.
And I'm Matt Pangrac.
Welcome to the Cull, a weekly sport fishing debate show where we talk about hot topics in fishing. And with the final Elite Series event of the season coming up, it finishes on a Monday. So this week's question is, should all Elite Series events finish on a weekday? Keep or cull? What do you think, Panger?
I've always been a proponent of this, Dave, specifically since Bassmaster went to live streaming coverage. Now, whether you want to admit it or not, there's a lot of people at work who log on to Bassmaster and watch Thursday and Friday. Guess what happens Saturday and Sunday? The penultimate and the championship day. They're out at soccer games. They're at cookouts. They're on the water fishing for themselves. You get more eyeballs on championship days that end on a weekday. And I think that's the ultimate goal of Bassmaster and all the anglers fishing in it. More eyeballs, more coverage, more people watching it happen. That's one of the main reasons why I think Elite Series tournament should end on a weekday, specifically Monday, when everyone's got the Monday blues, wishes they were on the water, and they can log on to Bassmaster.com and watch it all go down.
I totally disagree. I think that yeah, it makes sense on paper. Yeah, there's going to be all these people, but I think that you're forgetting about what I think is one of the most important things in the sport. And that is literally the angler's experience, the fans' experience. It's so rare to win. We talk about that in every one of these, how rare a victory is. When that victory happens, you want to maximize your crowds, and your crowds are going to be maximized on the weekend. And that does help the internet crowd too. Before everyone starts saying, well, you just care about the weigh-in because you MC the weigh-in. Well, of course I just care about the weigh-in because I MC the weigh-in. But apart from that, look at other sports and how they build athletes. Look at MMA, look at boxing. You bring a fighter on his way up and you always highlight him in front of his hometown crowd. You always put him in those great opportunities so that the people watching all around the world can see people clamoring to get near to this person. You know, whether it be a Conor McGregor on the way up, they had him fighting in Ireland, and then they finally moved him to where was his first fight in America? Boston, where the most Irish people live. So you can continue to build that. If you look back at Seth Feider, I still think to this day, part of the reason that Seth Feider is who Seth Feider is, and part of his coming out party was because of where it happened. I mean, when he did what he did in lacrosse and then in Mille Lacs, 2 tournaments in a row, the rest of the world got to see 50 people around his boat, 100 people around his boat. I mean, I remember coming around the corner at that event, and the anglers were doing a meet and greet that day. And I remember seeing a giant crowd for Skeet, a giant crowd for Ike, a giant crowd for Kevin, and a giant crowd for Seth Feider. But that crowd, that helps people watching online, that helps them fall into the fandemonium. And I just think that the most valuable thing is to have a big, giant crowd. And that only happens on the weekend. So I'm totally against you on this one, Panger.
Those are valid points, Dave. But, you know, we've also seen tournaments that have taken off a little bit later in the morning and weighed in later in the evening. You'll still have the weigh-in on a Saturday and a Sunday, just not the final day weigh-in. Why can't you have an 8 a.m. takeoff and a 5 or 6 p.m. Weigh-in? The other thing I look at it is it's winning the battle versus winning the war. Yeah, there might be a few less people there, but the win isn't any less valuable, and there's way more eyeballs online on it. So in the long run, the angler benefits more because more people see him lifting that trophy. They're just not people directly in front of him. You still have the crowd. This is where I think I get you on this topic, Dave, though, is let's talk about the purity of the competition. What is the one thing that is unique in bass fishing that golf doesn't have, that tennis doesn't have? There's no one else on the court. There's no one else on the course during competition. What is there on a Saturday and a Sunday during there's a ton of other boats. You're talking recreational, wakeboard boats, pontoon boats, fishing boats, other tournaments going on. It impacts the fishery and the fishermen on the most important day of their season, potentially the most important day of their career. It changes their patterns. It changes their fish. If you've been watching live, how many times have we seen this is my Sunday tournament. You don't own the water. You know what? They don't own the water, but guess what? There's less people on a Monday. Monday's probably the least traffic day on the water out of all of it. Now you get your top 10 guys. The purity is still there, not impacted by outside influences. They're able to run their patterns, catch their fish, and have more people online see them hold the trophy. For that reason, I'm keeping weighing in on a Monday to close out Elite Series events.
I totally disagree. And I could give you lots of reasons. I could tell you that, accommodations are going to be a nightmare because people stay in ABRBs, which goes Saturday to Saturday. There's no way you're going to get in a mess like that.
They're professionals.
But let's try something professional right now, Panger, because you want to make the Elite Series, right? And I want you to make the Elite Series. And I'm sure everybody that wants to make the Elite Series at some point in their life, they kind of visualize that moment when they're holding that trophy over their head. Now, I want you to close your eyes right now, Panger, and what are you hearing? Not mouse clips. Not people clicking on mouses.
I'm hearing a crowd.
You need the crowd.
Hearing a crowd. But there still will be a crowd, Dave.
Oh yeah, they'll all put emojis on the screen. Yeah,
you have to do crowd control. Just pack them in close to there.
Okay.
Beer garden at everyone Monday evening. Dollar drafts on Monday evenings.
You got me in my weak spot. Whenever you mention a beer garden and late night weigh-ins, I'm all in.
Camera angles, fake crowd noises. I don't know.
You guys let us know. Keep our Cull. Elite Series events should always finish on a weekday. Keep our Cull.